Welcome to the Imagine AI Live podcast. We're here live at the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas, and I've got a very special guest with me, Michael Moe, the founder of Global Silicon Valley. Can you tell that this is my 20th podcast today? Michael, so happy to have you here. You just got off the stage. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's really wonderful to be here. I love the energy and the engagement of the people, and it's obviously a really exciting time in the AI space.
Yeah, definitely. So let's dive into that. You at Global Silicon Valley, what are you focused on? You make a lot of investments and you scope the field. What are you keeping an eye out for?
Well, we look for what I call the stars of tomorrow, which are these young, big idea businesses that are just at the kind of early part of their formation. We have a formula we call the 5 Ps we look for in a great emerging business to identify and invest in these stars of tomorrow. People, there's no shortage of interesting ideas, but it's always the people executing against those ideas that make the difference. Product, what's a company's claim to fame? Technology is all about disproportionate gain to the leader in a category, so we're looking to invest in the very best companies within a specific segment. Third P is potential. How big can it become? What are the mega trends? What are the tailwinds that are creating positive fundamentals? Fourth P is predictability. How visible is that growth? And the fifth P is purpose, with the idea that the great businesses of tomorrow are going to have the ambition of a for-profit in the heart of a not-for-profit.
I love that, and you've had some big hits in the past. And could you give us a rundown of some of the companies on your wall?
Yeah. We've been very fortunate to be involved with some great businesses in the early days. The one that I kind of cut my teeth on, Starbucks Coffee. In 1992, and actually wrote a book called Find the Next Starbucks. It wasn't my name for the book, that was the publisher's. But we invested, we were early in Google, but also, with GSV, we invested in Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Snap, Lyft, Palantir.
Palantir is a fun one to watch these days. It's really, I love Alex Karp. He's such a phenomenal founder and CEO. It's really impressive to watch.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, and what's interesting is Palantir is now 25 years old.
I did not know that.
Yeah, well, it's sort of, when we invested in 2010, it was 10 years old. And actually, that's how I met Joe Lonsdale, because he was one of the founders of Palantir. They were doing incredible things then, but most people never heard of them. Today, obviously, a $230 billion market cap, and it's sort of the poster boy for what's going on in AI.
Mm-hmm. And talk about the EdTech space, because you're heavily involved in there as well.
Yeah, so education technology has been a core focus of ours for a very long time. It's the segment is going through a little bit of a breather right now, kind of having a COVID hangover. But that said, we're in a knowledge economy where your knowledge, your education makes a difference for an individual, for a company, and for that matter, a country. And what AI is doing is accelerating the whole knowledge curve or information curve. So for people to participate in the future, they're going to need to accelerate the way that they acquire knowledge. And I think that's a big opportunity.
And you host a podcast called Ed on the Edge.
We do. And
it's a great, if you haven't watched it, you should check it out, especially if you're in education. I mean, it's the perfect niche for you. Why did you start the podcast, and what do you hope to achieve with it?
Well, funny enough, we still don't really know what we're trying to achieve in terms of a grand plan. But the way I look at it is, it's a good excuse for me to talk to the smartest people in the industry. And so whether anybody listens to our podcast or not, it helps me get smarter. And we hope by sharing it with others, they're able to benefit from that as well. But I do think there's a great opportunity to take that and maybe some other products and create an information source. Certainly, there's no shortage of podcasts out there, but really part of it is because it's how people are acquiring real-time knowledge. I mean, this whole idea of how do you accelerate your learning? Well, it's not going to be the traditional way that you sat down in a classroom and had a teacher lecture to you. Now, when you're exercising or you're on the bus or whatever, listen to a podcast. I mean, podcast is just a great form of education.
Definitely. The amount you can learn from podcasts is tremendous. You talked about a post-COVID hangover with an EdTech perspective. I mean, during COVID, everyone was home using screens and trying to learn remotely. So what EdTech, I mean, still schools now they're dealing with AI though. So they're back in person and they're dealing with this incredible technology that has the capability of really personalized education and like knowing where the students' levels are in various fields and helping them improve. What technologies or companies are standing out for you right now in this space?
Yeah. So again, I think it's a double-edged sword, which is the model in education that's worked pretty well for hundreds of years is getting disrupted like in an incredible, important way. Mm-hmm. And it scares a lot of people. It scares the traditional people, but for me, it's wildly exciting and it's great for people and students. Mm-hmm. So to your point, what are some of the key features of this? One is this adaptive or personalized learning, so I can learn and where I'm at, accelerate what I'm doing, where I'm proficient, go back, and where I've got the deficiencies. How do I best learn? It can be just for me, this 24/7 tutor. People get stuck, and one of the reasons why people drop out of school or drop classes is because they're lost. So with the 24/7 tutor, I get what I need when I need it. So that's pretty impressive. So companies that we love, a company called Axios, which is actually out of Arizona State University, creating this kind of personalized learning experience is a great example of that. Mm-hmm. Looking at what again, we see is with these big, large language models. I mean, they're fabulous, but as what I say is like electricity was great, but the key part about electricity is it allowed Coca-Cola to exist. Mm. So thinking about what these generative AI, what does that enable businesses? What kind of applications are you able to create to make learning faster, cheaper, and better?
Charter schools and private education, are there any models that have stood out to you or that are using AI in this kind of new environment we're in to produce good results in children's education?
Absolutely. And again, I think it's so a number of things going on that's creating this change in this industry, which historically hasn't changed very much. So school choice and charters, is a big deal. It started in your hometown of St. Paul.
Oh, really?
That was the first charter school in the United States.
Oh.
Today, there's over 3,000 of them, and about 3.5 million students, in charter schools. But you have, homeschool. You have micro schools. A company called Primer is a great example of a technology platform that powers homeschools and charter schools. With AI being, the magic behind it.
Primer.
Yeah. Primer, Silicon Valley-based company. Sam Altman's an investor in it. We're an investor in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's I think a big deal.
I saw one that I think there's some in Texas where it's AI focused and maybe the children spend 2 hours a day with like kind of personalized AI, but then the rest of the 6 hours in the school is like collaboration with other kids, like play, very open-ended social skill training, and like letting kids kind of go into spaces that they're interested in.
You might be talking about Astra Schools, which is Elon Musk is actually one of the people that started that school.
Oh.
And it's pretty cool. And the results that they're getting are, again, early but impressive. Mm. So, the great news is you're seeing a lot of entrepreneurs in the space. AI is a huge, huge enabler. And, so I think the models that you're seeing emerge are very exciting.
So the name of your company is Global Silicon Valley. So I want you to focus on the global part of it. What areas of the world are you seeing a lot of energy and excitement around them embracing AI, and where in the world are you most excited about?
Well, I'd say, first of all, AI is a global phenomenon. If I were to talk about markets where you're seeing sort of an aggregation of talent and energy and ideas and capital, I don't know that there's a more exciting market in the world, than the UAE.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi and Dubai. So people think of it as the capital of capital because it is. But I mean, AI, for example, they have a business in Abu Dhabi called G42. You got 30,000 employees. It's an AI business, 30,000 employees. Microsoft's a big investor in it. And they've been at this for almost a decade now. So they were, before people could spell AI, they've been focused on it. And because of the proximity of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, it's 6-hour flight. It's less than a 6-hour flight from 2/3 of the world's population. So it's very, very exciting. India is a market that's exploding. AI is important there. China. It's so interesting to me because 10 years ago in China, it was a major focus. AI was a major focus. Mm-hmm. And so when people talk about China being so far behind the U.S. in AI, I don't know necessarily that I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think they've, obviously we got deep seek, but it's way beyond that in terms of how China's been thinking about integrating AI, into transforming businesses for a long time.
Very, very interesting. Well, Michael, I know that you've got a plane to catch later, and is there, thank you so much for being a part of the Imagine AI Live community, and this is your second time at our event, and really happy to have made your acquaintance, and I love the the EdTech focus, and any last words you'd like to say to our audience?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. What you guys are doing is spectacular. It's really impressive and great for the AI community. And the last thing I guess I'd say is when you think about AI, and it does remind me of the internet 30 years ago when people talked about the internet. But you don't even think about the internet today because it's embedded in everything. Mm-hmm. So I say the AI revolution, AIR, I call it air. It's like air. AI is like air because it's invisible, it's ubiquitous, and you're going to need it to live. And so I think it's just as vital as air, and it's going to be just as big as air. So anyway, this is, as much as there's so much has gone on here in the last few years, we're just getting going. It's just the very beginning. So, jump on board.
Well, that's a very powerful point to end on. Thank you, Michael, for sitting down with me.
Thanks, Chris.
That's one small step for man.